Hello, this is Bethan from IndustryMe, and today I'm going to be speaking to Ariana, the founder of Spoke, an app tapping into the art and science behind music and how it can provide valuable mental health tools and support to people all over. So just to get started, would you like to just kind of introduce yourself and explain what exactly it is that Spoke kind of represents and what it is you do?
So my name's Ariana. I'm the founder of Spoke, which is currently the UK's leading music-led mental wellness app. And what we do is we give you personalised music-led audio sessions that we've clinically proved to improve your mental well-being. So everything from like sleep and reduce stress, building confidence with relationships, with career, etc. We've developed a new category of audio with some of the UK's best producers and artists. And what makes Spoke different is that what you're listening to is incredible music, but it's all been developed by artists who have been trained by neuroscientists, psychologists, therapists. And our whole mission is to make looking after your mental health as easy as listening to your favorite music.
Amazing. It's so interesting, such an interesting concept, it really is. And as the founder and co-CEO, how did this project kind of come about? Like, what was it? What was the process of doing it, and what were your reasons for starting it, really?
Yeah, no, of course. So I guess that's kind of the big thing, that what we're doing really is serving a need that's unserved in the wellness world, or like the mental health world. And I'll kind of explain that by telling you the context and how we got here. So I spent a few years working in the wellness industry. I used to do really big mental kind of wellness, yoga, mindfulness events in London and in New York. Yeah, we worked with like loads of different big brands. It was great. However, I did notice that working in, I guess, the world of wellness, you really only see the same kind of types of people. It was typically an older female middle class crowd. That's generally what you see on a lot of even mental wellness apps as well. And sadly, in 2017, my younger brother actually lost one of his best friends to suicide, which obviously shattered the whole community. But then him and his friends, they refused therapy, refused counselling. If you imagine, I worked in wellness, so I had all of these tools at my disposal, mindfulness, coaching, CBT, ACT, therapy, all of this, like meditation, all of this kind of stuff that helps you metabolize emotion. It treats the root, not the symptom. It's so important to have these like practices that, and learn these tools that can help us process emotion from an early stage. The problem is they're wrapped in a culture, and what I saw quite literally with my brother and his friends, they're wrapped in a culture that none of them they didn't find accessible, they weren't interested in, it was culturally irrelevant. It was, and that really is what made me, I guess, incredibly angry, because that's what happened to, sadly, what happened to their friend and to them after, in the aftermath. That's not I guess a unique scenario, unfortunately. Male suicides, suicides in general, are going up every year. 80% of all suicides are male. We're living in this social epidemic at the moment. And one caveat I'll say, it's not that young women have less anxiety and depression, it's just that early stage preventative tools and practices are a touch more accessible for young women than for young men. So young women are just a little bit more likely to speak to somebody or to try something out, or just those tiny little 1 degree moves you make in those very early stages can be a massive difference 5 years down the line, and it can help prevent crisis. And the problem right now is most mental health solutions, firstly, they treat the symptoms, not the root causes. That's why they all are very clinical. And when they're quite clinical, you end up stepping in too late. Basically, you're already at a point of crisis. So I've spent the last 5 years researching this phenomenon, and part of my research has been around what are these levers, what are these, I guess, channels between really important tools and the people who need them most at the moment. And really, artists, musicians, cultural leaders are some of the people that are not empowered enough to fully become ambassadors, verified ambassadors for good mental health. So that's what led to Spoke. And what Spoke is this way of delivering mental health tools that is totally different from clinical solutions, from yogi solutions. It's based in youth culture through music. Currently, we work with so many different, like loads of different genres, but mainly hip hop, R&B, Afro beats. We've got various like lo-fi, it's very kind of lo-fi feel to it. And the personalization is another key aspect. So we focus on themes that are key to like the kind of transitions that young people will most likely go through, you know, career changes, what, you know, feelings throughout studies, relationships, you know, relationships and money are the two main things that people touch on. So we really focus on all of these different themes, and then bring mental health tools out through lyricism, through song, through kind of spoken word. And yeah, the whole idea is that the app is your mental wellness tool. Instead of, you know, picking up that will never be a replacement for a music streaming app. It's a different purpose. But if you're looking for something to help with, I don't know, heartbreak, or you want to feel more confident before, you know, a big exam or a date or whatever, you need to get to sleep and you've got something specific on your mind, all of these focus, that's what Spoke is for, because we can give you amazing music, but it helps with these specific intentions in your life.
And I'm assuming that you can really choose what we want to get out of it, like it's very specific to your needs.
It is. So the personalization, so 80% of all of the listens come through our personalization. So when you open the app, it will say, hey, how are you feeling? And we've designed this really cool, I go like this, sorry, we've got this axis. It's a really cool interactive axis with like colors, and we've built it off the idea of emotional literacy. So research is baked in throughout the whole design, throughout the experience, throughout obviously the music as well. But so I'm just going to give you this as an example, but there's a couple of actually they're suicide reports, male suicide reports, but this is something that factors in for far more than that critical group. A lack of emotional literacy is one factor that is basically not helping around preventing suicides, and that's just quite literally being able to fully understand and articulate how you're feeling. So it's maddening to think that just being able to articulate the way you feel sometimes can be 50% of the problem solved. And we're just not taught emotional literacy, you know, growing up. And especially young men are taught a lot less. So we use lots of this research when we design the app. So you'll check in with how you feel. It'll say, what are you here for? I'm here to reduce stress, or I'm here to sleep. And then it will say, cool, like what's on your mind? Like what's going on for you? It might be money, it might be family stuff, it might be, you know, grief. It could even be like body image. There's so many different things in there. And then it says, oh, how much time do you have? You might say 5-10 minutes, and then you'll be given a session for exactly what you need.
That's brilliant. Really, really cool. So gosh, all my questions are just answering them all. Amazing. Just brilliant. What's kind of been like a standout success story for you, like since starting Spoke? Do you get a lot of feedback?
So we get a lot of feedback. So I guess there's two things I'll mention. The first thing is our reviews. And that, I mean, this is something that, you know, you can't, you know, like reviews come in every single day. We get some really amazing reviews, but I think the depth of love that the people that use Spoke have for it is like nothing I've ever seen for any other type of digital kind of product. So just as one example, we've got hundreds, and you go on the App Store and just see them all, but there's been about 10 or 15 reviews from people saying, I've got ADHD and this is the only thing that has ever worked for me.
Wow.
Now, we didn't design it with ADHD in mind. We were doing that over the next few months. We're working on an ADHD project with some specialists and working with artists who have ADHD. So that's great. But that came out just, you know, we weren't expecting that. But what's amazing is it makes sense because it's, you know, it's music, it's an immersive, emotive experience. So I guess one thing that's we've realized is, and maybe some of your audience will already know this, but what we're starting to understand about the healing journey is it's not about intellectualizing healing up here. It's not about just knowing the theory and just kind of knowing, okay, I should do this and should do that, and then I'll feel better. The healing comes when it hits you emotionally and you can metabolize that emotion. And it's almost, it's gone away from up here. It's not theoretical anymore. It's in your body. You have that physical release of emotion, and music's the perfect tool to do that. So we're seeing people, even someone who, there's a quite long review, and this came in quite early actually, someone who said that they had long COVID and they were in severe pain, they hadn't left their house for months, and they started listening to Spoke, and all of a sudden they could leave their house and the pain was going away. And it's like, I cried when I saw that. It's just amazing what this kind of thing can do. But I think what we're starting to realize is, because when you can pull people into a narrative and work with them emotionally by using the right kind of music and sounds. So most musicians will do this intuitively, but you can utilize sound and production techniques and the right, even instruments, using BPM and the right, all of this and the right frequencies to meet someone and create a physiological response and a neurological response. So it's really interesting what you can do through the right kind of sounds for people. And then I guess the other thing, kind of a success story, is we did a clinical study last year. So our clinical study, we basically proved that after listening to one Spoke episode, that's just checking in once, listening to one, which is that's literally take you 3 minutes. It improves your emotional resilience by 20.1%. Okay, it's like, that's great, that's fine. What's going to be interesting is 6 months and listen to a year. But what's the reason why we did that is obviously to prove that we're on the right track, but also there is hardly any research that proves music-led early interventions. And actually that's part of the reason why solutions look, sound and feel very similar. They're clinical, they're quite yogi, which meets, that's fine for a lot of other people, but there are millions of people being completely missed out because there's not a mental health tool that feels like it connects with them on a cultural level. So we're passionate about doing that research so that there needs to be a much bigger market of more types of, like the way you've got loads of different gyms, all types of gyms for all types of fitness people, different likes, whatever. Yeah, it's like looking after your mental health does not need to sound like one tune. It should be all these different ways, and we're just at the beginning of that happening. We really are. The growth is going to be when the creative industries get involved and we can start being really artistic about it. But right now they aren't involved properly. They are pretty much excluded from this world of science and mental health.
Right.
And that's going to change in the next 5 years, which is exciting.
Very exciting. I don't know if you've heard of it, but an artist called Benny released a song called Bagels, I think. Yeah,
I know that.
I just thought I'd get your opinion on it, because to kind of have a song that really champions what you do in like kind of a mainstream kind of arena, that must feel pretty exciting for you guys to.
Yeah, no, it is. And I think there's like, this, so I guess, what's really exciting is a lot of artists this is happening under our noses. Artists are taking the initiative and I guess creating music that is already promoting this idea of looking after your mental health, all of this stuff that we should be doing anyway. And I think that's absolutely amazing. The problem is, as an industry, that the music industry there's no measure of impact. There's no if something's going to sell, then great, that's kind of all it cares about. So as an industry, there isn't any mechanism to really support. Firstly, there's the mental health of artists, and then there's the mental health of all the people listening to what we create. And there's no mechanism in there that actually helps support that, because it's really still selling albums, streams, tours. Is this going to sell? That is the only line of success. That's the only measure of success. So I think the industry is quite far away from truly measuring impact, because there's a lot of issues that need to be solved on the inside before can start looking outwards. But yeah, so I think the interesting thing is that artists are already doing this because they realize the importance. The thing that I find a real shame is there's no platform there's no verified platform yet where it can be like, okay, this is now proven to actually help with this and that. So I think that's why young people especially are really turning to, because there's not a connection with real like mental health tools. It's like, okay, I'm now going to turn to my favorite artists, my favorite cultural leaders, my favorite celebrities, and most of what's out there is great, but it's also unverified. So let's say you're okay, I want to help with my anxiety, I'm going to pick up a podcast and maybe listen to one of my favorite artists talking about something to do with anxiety, and that's a lot of that will be great, but it's not necessarily going to be verified by science there. And then stuff goes on TikTok and there's risk of a lot of misinformation going out or information out of context. And so I think we've kind of got into a bit of a problem now where people want so much to create stuff that helps with mental health and all these other things, but there isn't like a way to channel that through a measure of verified science. Is this the right information to be sharing? So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that, but which is a little bit different to music itself, which is so yeah, I guess it's just a sign of the fact that we as an industry, we need to start thinking about how this activity can be supported properly.
Definitely. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I get that. It's really important. What about Spoke X? Tell us a little bit about your events and kind of how it came about, because I'm assuming it was after you'd established the app. So yeah,
exactly.
It looks like a really, really beautiful experience from videos I've seen. So.
They are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. So yeah, we launched the app, went on the App Store in like January 2022, and we launched Spoke X in January 2023. So it's about a year later. We were thinking for a while, we really should be doing live events. And I guess, we sort of launched it more as an incentive and an initiative for the Spoke community. So people who have the app, people who are in the community, it's a way to get this live in-person rendition of the experience. And the idea really has been to have a live mental wellness themed kind of gig where you're taken through a journey based on a theme. So maybe it's like helping with creativity and imagination, or maybe it's stuff to do with sleep or relationships or gratitude. So we've done various themes, and you'll get 3 surprise performances. In between the performances, you'll be given reflection exercises, community exercises. It's a really intimate and beautiful kind of experience. And we don't do them that regularly, just because we host them very tightly here at our HQ in London. And we don't like, we've got a big enough space for about 50, 60 people max. So every one of the events has been complete sellouts. So we're planning a little bit later this year, when we're going to be raising a fundraising round later this year. So once we've done that, that's when we're going to gear them up a little bit more, start expanding across the UK. But it's been a really exciting journey because they've been so popular. Like we get so many messages about them. Everyone that comes is like, oh my gosh, like I can't wait for the next, which is amazing. But then I think we kind of got to a point where we're like, wow, we almost don't know what to do. We can't really we don't have enough capacity, like feet on the ground to run these more regularly. Or so yeah, it's exciting, it's great, and you'll have to come to one of the next ones we do.
Yeah, I'd love to. I just from seeing on your Instagram and stuff like that, it just looks, yeah, really, really beautiful. Yeah, so it's a really nice way to kind of bring it to like more of a well, obviously it's very personal within the app, but to have a space in person, you know, to be able to meet you and the team, I'm sure that's a that's a nice thing for your users to be able to experience.
Definitely. And even just to be able to connect with other like-minded people, because there are so many people who are like, you know, really creative. They're like normally from, I say from London, but actually we've got so many people. There's people who've like got on a train 3 hours to come here. Wow. So we've been surprised by how far people have actually traveled for this, which is really cool. But yeah, it's just nice to be able to connect with other people who firstly love music. That's the number one thing. They're music people through and through, but then really care about personal development, you know, like evolving in like awareness and consciousness and understanding, you know, how to live well and look after yourself. And so there's a lot of people who love both things basically. And what we found is there's just not many spaces for, because I guess, you know, to put it simply, usually if you go to really wellnessy stuff, there is a kind of type, like a really wellnessy type in a way.
Yeah,
which is yeah, which is great. But I think there's like a different way of seeing this, like really through the lens of music and culture and creativity. So yeah, we've got an amazing community.
That's so great. Do you kind of bring artists in from all over to work on specific projects, like, or do you have like a in-house team of artists? How does it work with that?
So we do have an in-house team, but we always sort of bring artists in for different projects. Okay. So just to give you an example, most recently, so about maybe just over maybe a month or so ago, we worked with a group called Sons of Zion, and they did the tracks are actually being released right now in the app, but they've done 4 sessions, but around loneliness, body image. And so we will usually have a couple of themes that we really want to explore and create sessions for, and then we will find the right artists who've, I guess, got the right sound, brand. You can tell everything you really need to know just from their social media, Spotify, etc. And then we'll bring them in to kind of work on the project. And then so usually artists will come in for about 2 to 3 days to, you know, discuss the project in depth, speak with our science team, get, you know, the tools that really need to be transferred across, and then they'll be in the studio just creating for a couple of days.
That's great. And then finally, what's next? How do you kind of see the app and the events growing over the next year, and like what do you hope to achieve?
Yeah, so we've got loads of things in store. So firstly, we are actually over the next 6 months going to start working with some amazing ambassadors. So we're speaking to some at the moment, some really, really great names. So the next few months will be about sort of building relationships with people who can become ambassadors for the movement. And it's not just, some will be artists, but it could be athletes, it could be, you know, there's a few other people that we've been discussing this with. So that's really exciting. So I'm actually on the hunt for some amazing people who love what we're doing, care about this mission, and who feel like they could basically help us grow. So the next year or so will be about growth across the UK. We'll be just continuing to build out different features. So in about a month's time, we're going to release a really interesting new feature linked to our sleep stuff. So I can't give away too much, but it's a really, so about 70% of people come into Spoke for sleep. So there's some really exciting stuff. We're building out all of the sleep offering. And then, you know, in the next couple of years, we are going to launch out into the US as well. So there's a really exciting opportunity there for, you know, people we work with to kind of expand out with us. But 10% of all of our listeners on the app right now are in the US. So we've already got an audience there, and we've done nothing to get them. So it's we know that our next market will be the US.
Okay. Oh, exciting things.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Well, thank you very much. It's been super interesting speaking to you. And yeah, best of luck with everything coming in the next
Yeah.
year or so.
Thank you so much.